Hello to all my amazing artists out there. I am so excited to share the art of Yayoi Kusama with you guys. Now, we've watched the video. I hope that you've seen the video about her life and all of the things that she's learned about and from the link that I sent you. And we are going to start working on our very first project, which is going to be based on her pumpkins. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you do not want to make a pumpkin, if you'd like to make something different, that's fine with me. If you want to make a banana or an apple or something totally different, but you have yellow and black paint in your kit. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the pumpkin first, or whatever shape you want to make, whatever object you want to make. And it has to dry for a few days. Then you paint it, and then you're going to add the dots to it. So I'm going to show you how to do that here in a little bit. But we're going to start out with some white Model Magic. So what you need to get out of your kit right now is going to be the Model Magic, and there's another paintbrush in there. Now, your paintbrush might be clear. Let's see. Your paintbrush probably looks like this. It's probably clear. So let me just get this one. And so you should, right now, you should have your Model Magic and the clear paintbrush, okay? Because we're going to use this as a tool to work on our pumpkin, okay? So I'm going to show you how to make the pumpkin. If you want to change it up, that's fine with me. You can be as creative as you want to be. That's what it's all about, guys. So I'm so happy that you're here with me today, and I hope you enjoy this. Now, Model Magic's really fun. If you've never used Model Magic before, it's squishy like a marshmallow, okay? So what I want you to do is take it out. Now I have some marker on my hand, so it might get on there a little bit. So my pumpkin might be a little bit swirly, but you know what? It's okay because I'm gonna paint it. But what I want you to do first is just get it and squish it in your hands, okay? Now, if you're sharing your kit with a brother or sister, then what you want to do is take your Model Magic and split it in half so you can share it. Maybe you want to make 2 pumpkins. You can do that too. But if you're only doing it by yourself and you want a good sized pumpkin, then you're going to want to squish it all together. So we're going to start out by squishing it together. And this is so good for your hands because you're using your fingers and it's helping with your dexterity in your hands. So you're going to take your Model Magic and squish it around really good. Make sure you're still washing your hands good before you get started, because if you don't, your Model Magic might get kind of yucky. So always make sure you wash your hands first. I should have probably told you that to begin with. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to take your clay, you're going to squish it all together, and you're going to roll it into a ball, okay? Now, if you're using something on your table to protect it, that's a great idea. But it might stick to it a little bit, so you got to be careful. And you probably don't want it right on the wood of your table. You want to kind of put something underneath it, maybe some saran wrap, or if you've got a plastic tablecloth, that would work really well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start kind of smoothing it out, okay? Now, the more you mess with it, you kind of rub it to get rid of all of the creases. All right, so here's what we're going to do. If you want your pumpkin to look more like hers are kind of long like this, and then they kind of squish around. I have your picture on there on your Google slide, so I'm going to send you that. That's what hers looks like. That doesn't mean that yours has to look just like it. Now, there your pumpkin can look like this. If you want to pinch up part of it to have a little stem, of course you can do that. It's totally up to you, but this is how you would do it, okay? So I'm going to make a little stem, and then I'm going to kind of just smush it around and make my edge. Now, here's my little pumpkin so far. Got the little top. I made a little divot coming around the top. I'm just kind of pressing it in. See how I'm doing that? And then I'm going to kind of push it back up to make it look more like her pumpkin. Now, you might want a fat pumpkin like that. That's okay too. But you're going to See how there's some creases on here? You're going to kind of smooth those out like this. Now remember, pumpkins aren't always perfect, so yours doesn't have to be perfect. Now, here's where the paintbrush comes in. We're not going to paint it yet. We're going to use this to make our creases in the pumpkin. Now, what you can do is also, if you wanted to make some little dots in there too, you might could get a skinny Sharpie or something. It's kind of hard to do that with this paintbrush. But what you're going to do is you're going to start off at the top and you're going to press your paintbrush in there like that, and it's going to make a divot. Can you see that? Then you're going to go right across from it and you're going to do it again. So you're going to press it and go all the way to the bottom. So your divot is going to go all the way around. See how it's got a dent in there? I'll hold it up where you can see it. There and there. Now you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to go across like this. So you're going to go across this side, start at the top, you're going to go around, push it in. So there's your divot on that side. You're going to start from here, go around, push it in on that side. So far you should have 4 creases. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of like north, south, east, and west. Okay? Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go through the middle of those. So you're going to go around this way and press in and go down. Go from the opposite side, press in and go down. Go in between these guys. You're going to press and go under. And then the last one, you're going to go do the same thing and you're going to press and go under. Now, what should happen is you should have something that looks like a pumpkin. See how it's got all the ridges? Now, the lightings are a little bit harsh, I think. See if I can get it where you can see it a little bit better. And as I turn it, you can probably see all the little divots. Now, you can always go back and press down a little bit harder, like this, and it's going to make the divot a little deeper. So go and press just a little bit harder. And guess what? If you don't like it, you can smush it all together and start all over again. Okay? So I'm going to go and I'm going to press in and make them a little bit deeper. Now that I've got them where I want them. Pressing in a little bit deeper. Going down to the bottom. And you got to be real careful when you're holding your object, because if you squeeze it, it's going to make all your lines go away. Okay? Now, you should have all of your pumpkin lines all nice and pressed in. Like this. Now, there's the pumpkin. Now, if yours looks different, not a problem. If you want it to look more like mine, you can squish it all together and come back later and it's going to dry. Now, when it dries, it's not going to be hard as a rock. It's just going to still be kind of squishy, kind of like a hard marshmallow. You know how if you leave a marshmallow out on the countertop, it gets kind of, it's still squishy on the inside, but the outside's kind of hard. That's exactly what this is going to feel like, okay? So I've got my little stem on the top, and then I've got all of my divots. So that's my Model Magic pumpkin. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to leave it so it can dry. And then, like tomorrow, when you get, or the next day when you get up, you can check on it. And if it's good and solid on the outside, you can paint it. So you're going to take your yellow paint and you're going to use your brush and you're going to brush all over the top with your yellow paint. Now, this is going to take a while. Like I said, you're going to want it to dry overnight. Now, I have yellow and black paint in your kit. That's because that was the colors that she used for her one that we're using as an example. The watercolor paint that you have in your kit, we're going to use that for something else. I don't think that the watercolor paint is going to work very well on this. That's why I gave you the acrylic paint. Be very careful with the acrylic paint. You don't want to get it on your clothes or anything. So make sure that you've got it on a surface that has some plastic underneath it or something like that, newspaper. But what you're going to do then is you're going to take your yellow paint and you're going to paint all over your pumpkin, okay? So mine is not dry, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use this yellow paint and I'm going to paint on my pumpkin just so you'll know what to do. Now, I've got my plastic that my pumpkin came in. Now, if you're working on your pumpkin, what you need to do is let it dry overnight. Then you can come back and press the video and start it the rest of the way and watch what I'm about to do. But if you've made your pumpkin or whatever your other object is for the day, I want you to put that over to the side and be done with it for now. Because the next day when you come back and it's dry, then you can paint it. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now, the other thing I gave you to work on today, because this was a short little thing, because it's a process, is I gave you some coloring pages that have Yayoi Kusama on them. And I thought it would be fun for you to work on those with your watercolors. So what you do with your watercolors, I'm going to show you that real quick. I do not have those coloring sheets with me, I don't believe. But what you're going to do when you paint, I'm going to show you just a second. Okay, I'm back. So let's say that you want to color your Kusama, you want to paint your Kusama color page, okay? So you have got these in your kit. These are Prang. These are some of the best watercolors that you can get for kids especially. And you've got a brush in there, a brand new brush. So in order to activate the watercolors, what you're going to do first is you're going to put your brush down in your water. So you're going to need a little cup that's got some water in it, just plain water right out of the tap. You dip your brush into the water. Most of you probably have used watercolors before, but this is just in case you haven't. So I'm going to pick the red first. So I'm going to mix my water onto my red paint. And I'm going to fill in everything that I want to be red first. So I'm going to leave her polka dots white. So I'm going to go around and I'm just going to paint in all of the parts of her outfit that are red, that I want to have red. So I'm going to go around and do that. Now, like I said, if you're sharing, you're going to have to be patient because you might have to share the paints. That's why it works really well if you've got your own stuff, but sometimes you share and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with sharing. So you are going to take turns, but there are 2 paintbrushes in the kit. So one of you could paint one picture and one of you could paint the other. Now, you're going to fill this all in the way that you want it. You can paint it whatever color you want. I just picked red because she really likes red and white polka dots, as you can see in the picture that I gave you. I printed off those pictures for you, and every time we study an artist, you are going to get a picture like that. That way, you'll have, at the end of all your classes, you're going to have like a portfolio of all different kinds of artists and what their artwork looks like. So let's say that you are in class one day and your teacher is teaching you about Japan or something like that. You would be able to tell her, hey, I know some artists that are from Japan. I know an artist named Kusama who loves polka dots. And just think your teacher will think you're so smart because you know that. So when you grow up and you go to different museums and things like that, hopefully that's something that you'll want to do, you'll have some knowledge about different kinds of artwork. Now, just this month is when we're going to be talking about the Japanese artist, Kusama, and we're going to talk about some other kinds of artwork too, but this week we're talking about her. So we're also going to be doing some origami and some other kinds of famous painting techniques and things like that. So you're going to learn about some other artists, not just Kusama, but this week we're talking about her. Now, from the video, you'll know that she had a hard time, you know, just kind of with life in general. So, you know, sometimes you have to use art to make you feel better, and that's okay. Now, let's see. I'm going to paint her lips red too, just because. You might want her lips to be a different color. It could be crazy colors. You don't have to make her look normal. You can make her look however you want to. Now, your picture isn't going to look like this. This is just a picture that I drew really quickly just to show you how to use the paints. Okay? Your picture's a little bit different and smaller, but I just grabbed a piece of paper really quick just to show you. Now, in between your colors, you need to rinse, 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 rinse out your brush. Okay? And don't tap, tap, tap really hard because water will fling everywhere. Now, next, I'm going to just get some black. Oh, you know what? That was accidental. That was not black. That was purple. So black is on the very end. So I'm going to get some black. And I'm going to paint in her hair. So every time you use a color, you need to rinse it out really good. And I always do the darkest colors last. That way, if there's any on the brush, it doesn't get everywhere, okay? You want to make sure that you go from the lighter colors to the darker colors. So, of course, black is the darkest color that I had in my box. So that's going to be the last color that I'm using for right now. I'm going to paint, paint, paint. Now, if you want, you could make the background of it all different colors if you wanted to. That's totally up to you. Now, Kusama did these other things that were called infinity rooms. And she had these mirrors, and the mirrors would have all these different colors of lights on them. And the mirrors reflected against each other. And so it just looked like it went on and on and on. Infinity means it just goes on and on and on and doesn't stop. So that was, she called an infinity room because it looked like it just went on and on forever. Now, I'm just going to finish painting her little hair like that. Finish coloring this in. And of course, you know, like I said, yours is going to look a little bit different because you've got a different picture than what I have. But it's made out of the same kind of paper and everything else, so it's not a problem. Now, don't use that paper that's in your box yet, because we're going to use that for another lesson. The paper that's wrapped up and tied with the little piece of ribbon or whatever. Don't use that yet. That's going to be for another lesson. You want to make sure you're saving your stuff for whenever we're doing another thing. Okay? All right. Now, feel free to turn off the video if you want to and finish. So I was just showing you. This is her. So here's my little Kusama. She's just got on a little sleeveless dress that goes up around. There's little arms and stuff. But if I wanted to, I could add a whole bunch of stuff to the background and all that sort of thing. You can dress it up however you want to. Be sure that you post it on the Facebook page that I sent your mom or your dad, and that way you can see it. Okay? So I want to see what you're making. I'm excited. All right. So that's our first lesson for today. Now, go ahead and push stop on the video, and in a minute I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you where I'm painting this guy. All right. Now yours, this is not dry yet, so we're going to see how this goes, but hopefully it'll go okay. All right. So I'll see you guys later. Bye. Hey guys, we're going to finish painting our pumpkin. Okay. So you're going to get your yellow paint. Take the top off. We'll move this guy out of the way. Now, we are going to start at the top. We're going to paint going down on our pumpkin all the way. And you're going to get in all the little crevices, okay? So So we're going to go all the way around. I'm just going to leave it flat on the plastic that's underneath it, and that's the little piece of plastic, the bag that came with it. And that way you can peel it off when you're done, and it won't get all over your table and stuff, okay? So you're going to paint all around your plastic, or not your plastic, you're going to paint all around your pumpkin. Okay. Now we're replicating her pumpkin, and if you don't want yours to look exactly like hers, that's okay. We say we're inspired by her, which means we are using some of her ideas, but that doesn't mean you have to copy her exactly. If you want yours to look different, there is nothing wrong with that. That's great. If you want yours to be, different, a different shape or something like that, that is no problem. I can't wait to see what you come up with. But if you want yours to look like it, that's okay too. Guys, it's all good, all right? You do what makes you happy, and you be creative, because that's what this is all about. That's why it's called a creativity kit. I want you to be creative, and I want you to make things that make you happy. But I also wanted you to learn about other artists and stuff, because that's how we get better as artists, is we learn from other artists that have tried things and have maybe some things have been successful and some things haven't. You just don't ever know until you try. Now, yours will be dry. Your pumpkin will be dry, so yours is going to be a little bit easier to paint. Mine is not dry yet, so I can't really pick it up a whole lot yet, because then I might get squished or something. So I'm going to paint all the way around my pumpkin. Make sure to get all the little crevices. And I had something on my hand. I had some marker on my hand, so it got on my pumpkin just a little bit. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm painting all around my pumpkin. Now, also in your container, or in your box, you have a, now I'm going to try to go back and get around the bottom, because I think there's some of it that didn't get paint on it. So I'm going to go back around the bottom. You can also paint a layer and then let it dry. And then you can pick it up and paint the bottom if you want to. I'm just leaving mine down on the plastic right now, just because I want you guys to see how I'm doing it, okay? Now, what I've done is covered all of my pumpkin with yellow. Now, if you wanted to, you could go back, you could let it dry, then go back and after it's dried, put another coat on it. You don't have to, but if you want to, that's fine. Now, I'm going to take this. Now, I have got some black paint right here. Now, this black paint, ooh, that looks really thick. Your paint should not be quite that thick. So, I'm going to just use this little thing of black paint that I've got right here. So, be real careful whenever you take the lid off so it doesn't get everywhere. Now, here's a trick to painting your dots. What you can do is take the end of your paintbrush, and this one's got a sticker on it. So if yours has got a sticker on it, just pull your sticker off, because that might not help very much. So I'm going to pull this sticker off real quick, just so it doesn't mess anything up. Now, it's good and straight. I'm going to take the end of my paintbrush. This is how you're going to make some good dots. Now I'm going to dip it down in my little thing of paint, and I am going to dab dots onto my pumpkin. So I'm going to dab, 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 dab. And I'm going to do that all the way around my pumpkin. And see, do a couple little dots. Now, you have got a pencil in your box that doesn't have an eraser on the end. If you want bigger dots, you can use the end of that and put big dots on your pumpkin, or you can use the end of your paintbrush and make smaller dots. Another thing that is totally up to you. Now, see how, okay, I want to make it where you can see it. See how I'm coming around and I'm painting the dots. Now it's going to take a minute. You have to be patient, take your time. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to paint these dots on this pumpkin. Now Kusama has got lots of different dots on hers. So you can go back in and add in more dots. So this one's, I'm going to make these a little bit thicker. Okay, see how it's got the dots all around it? Now, what you can also do is go back and put another section of your dots on there. If the middle of them gets where there's not as much paint, just go back over them. So I'm going to go back around and I'm going to put some more dots on there and cover my pumpkin with dots. Now here's the thing, if you wanted to put even more dots, you could take a toothpick and dip a toothpick down in the paint and make little tiny dots. If you had a Sharpie, you could also make little tiny dots. You can use all different kinds of things that you can find around the house. You can do the project with what's in the box, but you can also use other stuff from around the house to change it up a little bit. Now, inside of the box, remember, there was that pencil that had no eraser on the end. That is in case you want to make little tiny dots, and that's what you can use the point for. If you don't have a toothpick or something like that, you can use the point of that little pencil. And see how I'm just adding various dots to it now. Now, see how it's all got dots all over it? I'm going to go back and just put another set of dots around the top. Okay, now let's say that I have my the end of my pencil. So I'm going to take that pencil. Now this is just another different pencil, but you've got the pencil in your box, the little short pencil. That's the one I want you to use for this, okay? So you're going to take your end of your pencil, and you're going to put it down in here and get just a little bit of paint on the end, and you can go back and put little tiny dots just with the end of your pencil. So that's what it's going to look like. See the little tiny dots? So I'm going to put little tiny dots on there. You're just going to dip it down in the paint. Little tiny dots. See how cute they are, the little bitty ones? And that's what you're going to do, is just add the little tiny dots all around it. Now, for those of you that are younger, I know this isn't the easiest thing, but I know you can do it if you concentrate and try your best. I know you can do it. So I'm just going to add some little bitty dots on here. Just got to take your time, okay, guys? Don't get in a rush. And see, I'm just adding all kinds of little dots around there just to make it look interesting. And that's what you can do. Now the older kids that are working on this, I might challenge you to try to get some dots right in the middle. That's a little bit harder. See how it's kind of hard to get them down in there. You got to get some really good aim to get it in there. It's kind of hard to do, but if you want to try that, you can do that as well. You might do better with that with a toothpick. Okay. So anyway, here we go. Here's our Kusama pumpkin. And I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed it. I love Model Magic. It's so much fun. Now, once you get your pumpkin all done, just don't touch it. Just leave it wherever you're working so it can dry. And it's going to take a couple of days probably for it to be completely dry. Now, when you pick it up off the plastic, it's probably still going to be a little bit damp on the bottom, just because the Model Magic at the bottom hasn't really had any air get to it. So once it's good and dry, you probably want to sit it up like this so the bottom of it can get dry, okay? That way it's not going to break apart. What you can also do is once it's completely dry, you can take a little bit of like school glue and brush it with your the other extra brush that I gave you, the one that's the clear one that you use to paint with. You can just rinse it out really good and put some glue on there and just paint over the top with the glue, and it'll work like a protective level or a protective layer. So you can try that. Okay? You guys have a great evening, and let me see what you make. Bye.